from which all standards of order and cleanliness had long since disappeared. There was a hideous screaming which echoed above even the hill noises and the dogs barking on the night Wilbur was born, but no known doctor or midwife presided at his coming. Neighbors knew nothing of him until a week afterward, when old Wadley drove...
Alright, I'm Pumpkin Jack, and we're coming out of the Ghastly Hallows. I am joined today by...
Red.
There seemed to be a change
and Bolt here.
An added element of furtiveness and clouded brain which subtly...
certain things there. Alright, so we are back, first time into the new year, near the end of the month after, what is it, 4-week hiatus at this point?
It's been about a month, yeah.
Yeah, we took a nice month-long break so we can reset, rewind. I just recently came back from the land of the rising sun, where I saw some odd spiritual things and some odd things which might actually relate to our pod topic today. But before we get into that, how have you guys been this past year? These past whopping 3 weeks and some change.
It's not a terrible year so far.
Nice. How about you, Bolt?
It could be better. Yeah, started my New Year gang HR runaround. So,
those are the worst.
Not lovely.
It can always be better, and it can always be worse.
Exactly. But we're still here. Meanwhile, let me go to Instagram and do my daily tasks of promoting the episode.
You mean being the responsible one between the three of us? Yes.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Please do. And when you can, please send me the link too.
Everyone listen.
Roger that.
We have to right now channel our minds. Everybody listen to everything that we're saying. We have to send out the good vibes into the universe. Which is long and expansive, which is what our subject matter is today. Cosmic horror. The themes and all the other good stuff that comes along with it. Those who are fans of cosmic horror have probably heard of a lot of the legends. Red, you know some of the biggest legends in cosmic horror, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, Lovecraft is the granddaddy.
Yep. Yeah, he is there's no other better term, yeah, the granddaddy. He's the founder, creator. It doesn't work without Lovecraft doing it. If we don't get those Lovecraft stories from the beginning, it doesn't work out the same way it would be.
Right.
We're just going to overlook, though, some of Lovecraft's strange stories.
Tendencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a tall order to do.
Well,
the man is something else.
Turn that off. The last thing I need is certain people being able to be seen on this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I keep getting notifications and they're deciding to do them now. Ruining the thing. Ah. But, yeah. Not send them that angry beaver yell at them for a bit. Stop texting on your...
You mean the motivational beaver?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, man. He makes me get up in the morning.
I want to put that into context. We are talking about a rodent.
We are, but he gives an automatically awesome epic speech that makes us all want to do something with ourselves at the end of the day.
That we don't understand since we don't speak the language and there's no subtitle translation.
But the tone.
The tone and everything kind of gets you there, though. You don't need to understand what he's saying.
I know basically what he's saying. Just
No, I need the subtitles. I need the translations.
Wait, do you know who voices that beaver?
I don't.
Bolt, you don't know who does the beaver?
I do not, or should I?
That is Chow Yun Fat. Does the beaver.
And who is that?
Chow Yun Fat is a Hong Kong actor. I believe he's from Hong Kong. He's kind of like, in my book, the Morgan Freeman Denzel Washington of Hong Kong.
Oh.
He's like granddaddy status. He was here in America. He did like weird movies, like Bulletproof Monk and stuff like that. But when you get some of his movies, it's like, damn, this dude was legit. My mom was a huge fan of his. Chow Yun-fat. He was also in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Okay.
He was one of the main characters in that one. But anyways, enough about Chow Yun-fat. Let's get back to the subject on hand. Chow Yun-fat, as far as I know, was not in any cosmic horror films. Although there are a lot that have come out of Asia over the years. But before we get into the ones I've seen, and we're going to start dabbling into the buffet between Red and I, 'cause I'm pretty sure Red has a bunch of his that he's seen. To get Bolt acclimated to this type of genre, we gave him an assignment, which I'm wondering if he paid the $3 to go ahead and complete anyways today.
I did. I surely did. 'Cause I don't support piracy anymore.
Well, I mean, on the
it's not a victimless crime.
Look, I might have pirated a lot of things, but please don't pirate this episode. It's up on YouTube for free, and it's also out there, on the podcast, Apple Podcast, for free. You don't need to pirate this. But however, when stuck behind a paywall, you gotta sail the seven seas when you gotta sail the seven seas. What can I tell you?
I mean, what type of person you have to be to pirate something for free? That's free. Like, that says a lot more about you, Dan.
That's people that do it for the love of it.
Yeah, for the sport.
That's a problem.
People like, wait, why the hell are my comments turned off? I want to turn my comments on. I didn't select to disable comments. How the hell do I turn the comments back on?
Oh, new year, new problems. Thank you,
Yeah,
YouTube.
seriously, what the hell? Why are my comments turned off? Well, if anybody's listening, click on the link over at Streamlabs and we can get your comments there. At least I can. Because I did not know that it would turn off the comments. I did not okay that. Oh, wait, no, I see it. Now I see the comments. There we go. Hey, H. Sinner. So anyways, what were your thoughts on the assignment today? You want to roll us out with what you had to say?
So, it felt pretty standard because, like, I thought it would be very unfamiliar with cosmic horror, but I guess I had, like a teeny, like a teaspoon
you
of
cared to tell
experience.
people what you had to see?
Okay, so sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the movie I saw for today's episode was called "In the Mouth of Madness," which is is the weirdest title I've seen thus far.
Well, it's actually a riff on a Lovecraft story.
Yes, called "At the Mountains of Madness."
Mm-hmm.
I like that title better.
But the whole film is like one giant riff on Lovecraft. There's like a lot of references to a lot of Lovecraft stories in the movie as a whole. Like the books that Sutter Kane writes are, what do you call it? They're all like riffs on other stories. The Dunwich Horror, Hobbs Horror End, Hobbs End Horror is Dunwich Horror. There's another one, The Lady in the Basement. They're all nods. But care to tell us what the movie was about?
So this movie was about. Well, it's coming from the perspective of an assurance investigator, which I did not know that was a job. But then again, this movie came out in 1994, so...
Oh, no, that very much is a gig. Some companies have their own in-house people, but smaller insurance firms that are more boutique tend to hire guys like that because they're like private investigators. So...
Yeah, which I'm like, why you're so niche? Because that skill set that he displayed in the movie could be attributed to a PI. So I was like, you had to be really niche to go to insurance investigator. That kind of baffled me. Like, can you just drop in insurance?
That was one where I was at first like, wait a minute, why him? Okay, yeah.
But then as the film progresses, you're like, wait a minute, this actually
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense now because I don't understand what the hell how the hell that's a job.
No. Like it made sense from the get go. I was just surprised for that like that niche of a job title to register my eyes. I'm just like, wait, what? that that kind of sounds cool. I would like to do something like that because I already get skeptical of people's practices in everyday life anyway. So why can't I just make a killing as that?
It's not
I
as
just why don't I have to make
exciting. It really is not as exciting as you would think.
I mean, yeah, like PI work is just it sounds cool on the surface, but then it's a lot of mundane and silly stuff.
All right, so I did like loose PI work for a little while there. So
Oh,
I'll disclose like quickly what I used to do. This is essentially what you do. The lawyer gives you a call. You're mostly working for lawyers. You don't get a call. You don't get a cool gun. You don't get that. You don't get a cool office, that has like that spinning fan on the window. You don't get any of that. What you get is a phone, which is your own damn phone, a backpack, and some paperwork, right? You go sign paperwork. That's what you do. You ask people about their injuries at workers' comp. That's what I used to do. And then on occasion, right, you got to tag along to go to doctor's visits to make sure the doctors aren't screwing them around because you're a credible witness now because the lawyer's sending you to places. And on occasion, you also have to just make sure that the person is actually injured. How the fuck we're supposed to do that, it's beyond us. But really, you just conduct interviews, more like Haunting in Venice style interviews where you're just asking the person a bunch of questions as opposed to, like sitting outside of someone's house waiting for them. Like that stuff like that, you can't really go around disclosing neither. But it's not as fun as they make it seem. Like you're not Jessica Jones. You're not,
I'm not an
Hercule
alcoholic.
Poirot. You're not doing any of that cool shit. There's none of that.
I do have to ask you though. Were you a hard-boiled private dick?
Yes,
You were. Okay, good.
because I was out there until like I
Then
was
there must
coming
be
home at
at
like
least
2 in the morning
novels
sometimes.
written about you.
There probably will be because there are times I would come home like 2 in the morning and I'd be just pissed off coming home so fucking late because I had to be like on foot most of the time because the Bronx
And
sucks.
you would angrily hang up your fedora at the front door, rip off your tie, and
I
go. I
would
don't know how much more of this I can take.
I would rip off my tie when I would come home. My mom would see me at 2 in the morning. Like, why the fuck are you coming home this late? I'm like, because I was working. They get off my back. I was working. Ripping off the tie, throwing the leather jacket on the ground. I could hear like the saxophone music playing in the background somewhere.
Yo, that saxophone slaps. I love that.
And, it's not as cool as they make it out to be in the movies. It's not as funny. You get paid shit. It's not that good pay. Yeah,
And
so
there's no women smoking waiting for you in your office when you go in late at night.
no, there's none of that. Like
No.
there was some point I'm like, damn it, when's a cool Famke Jensen woman gonna pop up eventually?
Yes.
Like, at one point, right? There's got to be one of them. No, it's none of that.
I mean, maybe because you're not in Chicago. If you probably relocate, you probably
Maybe,
got
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But it was gonna happen anywhere. It would have happened here in New York. Like I'm in a coast city. Like at some point, like where's Lucy Liu with the long trench coat, Carmen San Diego style look? Where are you? Nah, none of that shit. Just a bunch of like large injured dark men. Just really sad. Not very fun at all. That was about it. Go take pictures of this Burlington Coke factory where this kid slipped and fell on a hook, and then you're like, okay, but it's not really useful. You can't do shit. Go visit these people. Get a burner phone so they're not really like calling your personal phone. Because I learned that the hard way. They would call them a personal phone for like all hours of the night. I also did process server work. It's also not that fun. So, yeah. I guess that's why I enjoyed this movie. There was a period there where I'm like, well, when I was doing that kind of work, I would watch John Trent and this one, like, cool, maybe someday, I'll get called to go ask and check about some missing writer. Maybe that chick who writes 50 Shades of Grey goes missing, which I think a lot of us would have wanted to see.
Oh my! You're just starting off this year just swinging at the fences, just trying to get anyone and everyone.
Well, tell me, man. Does anybody remember those movies fondly?
You know what? But let's get through the movies tonight.
That's a cosmic horror on its own. You know how many people died trying to recreate those stupid books?
I probably want to say, in your opinion, not enough.
You said it, not me.
In your opinion. No. In your opinion, I am just guessing what you would say.
That book gave a bunch of ER nurses some great stories.
I bet it did. I so bet it did.
How many minutes? 15 minutes in the mental scarring.
But yes. So the plot of this one is ultimately, right, he's a PI insurance investigator, and by the way, I did run into some cases, like, in my time, not as a PI, but in general, working in the legal field, where there's people pulling scams like that idiot was pulling. Like, how are you gonna make your wife a partner and then cheat on her? Like, let's just start there, fucking moron.
And then give the woman that you're cheating on with your wife's stuff that you bought for her. When I saw it, I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious?
No, they never check. They don't look for that stuff, right? They just pay the checkout, dumbass.
Oh man, I stood up in my chair. I'm like, this happened so early in the film. I'm just like, all right, you have my attention. I want to root for this one. Oh, not the guy who tried to pull that stupid bogus insurance.
Right.
You're cheering for the main guy, Mr. Jurassic Park guy.
For the cynical insurance investigator
Dan Needle.
who, after like doing his job, he's in a diner talking about his next potential case. He gets attacked by, what was it? The publisher?
The agent.
The agent.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
The agent of his
We're just gonna call him Stephen King for all intents and purposes. That's what he was like kind of modeled after anyway.
All right, yeah. So we're gonna call him a Stephen King stand-in. Mm-hmm. Stephen King stand-in comes with an axe.
That's
from
longer
across
than the
street.
actual name.
Do you read Sutter Kane?
Sutter Kane, yes.
Oh man, it was just like we. And the funniest thing is, like, as the audience, we see this potential threat coming a mile away. Meanwhile, this guy is just like talking about, I need a challenge. Like my job was so boring. This guy was a pushover. Blah blah blah. Like you really get a real rush when it's like, when it's a pro versus like a noob. So like, who's this like Cheddar guy? Oh, he's just like some horror artist, and then crash. Guy with an axe bursts through the conversation, breaks a perfectly good window, mind you, and then axes. Oh, do you read this horror book? Which feels like a common discourse on the internet for like, do you see or watch or listen to insert popular name?
Have you seen Home Alone? That kind of thing.
Have you seen Home Alone? There's nobody touching
you. You know what? And you know what? I'm gonna go on record and tell people for context, I have not seen any of the Home Alone movies. Feel free to come at me in the comments. I don't care.
He's giving you guys free ammo. You can go ahead and go at it. Don't worry. There's nothing you can say to him that we haven't already said over the years. There was one time somebody we know asked him, "Hey, what's a rapper you would bring back to life?" Of all the pantheon of dead rappers, he said Mac Miller, and some people chewed him out about it.
Because the man died of an overdose.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway.
You know what? And that's a separate that's a separate.
You know what? I'll save that for the day we watch Tales from the Hood. But anyways.
Yeah. So of course the main character doesn't die from guy with an axe brushing through and interrupting his, like, what was it, like a Monday afternoon lunch. The madman with the axe gets shot by police officers so quickly. It's funny how quickly acted in that.
It's quickly for 1994.
Yeah. Yeah, they were really gun trigger happy back then, but I digress. So he survives that little brush with death. Not his last time. Goes to in his next case, and then he gets interviewed by the company of this famous horror author called, you guessed it, Sutter Kane. So what the publisher asks him to find said author because apparently they lost him. I don't know how you just lose a person when you send him to like some location, and yeah, you just haven't heard from him since. I think they knew. Yeah, they definitely knew because he buys all of this man's books, cuts out a lot of like the covers of it, pieces together that the Sutter is in New Hampshire, but it's in like a location that's not registered on any of the current maps at the time, and he has to take the assistant with him in order to get the manuscript back at the very minimum because they're a publication company. The main thing they want is this man's work because they have delayed a lot of good endorsement deals and like a movie in the works and all this jibber jabber. But yeah, he goes on an expedition with the assistant, and freaky stuff happens because when the universe is trying to tell you a sign, don't go here. They let you know by sending you a boy on a bike riding past them on a car while they're driving, mind you. They're lost at this point too. And say kid does a drive-by coming from the same direction they're heading towards, but he's now old. That's a red flag right there. And then he again does a run back on them, still coming from the same direction they're heading to. Don't question it because it's a horror film. You just kind of just go with it. And at this point the assistant is driving, hits him, and he just gets up and just keeps riding. If that's not a sign for you to turn back, I don't know what is. But yeah, they make it to the town, of course, and all these weird things start to happen. You have children that are running after a ball that only the assistant can see. The guy can't, of course, because he's a non-believer. He is safe at this point. Still doesn't turn back. The woman is telling him, "Oh, let's go to the church. Oh, let's leave because there's a group of people with guns that are going to pull up." And she basically predicted the future because apparently she read his future manuscript of his latest novel, and so she can predict what's going to happen. Doesn't use that information to kind of get our main character John Trent out of town with her. No, she makes out with him for some weird reason, steals his car keys, goes to a church where they earlier visited, and they saw Sutter, and gets brainwashed by Sutter and is now part of the whole town and various other creepy entities that are trying to get John to read a manuscript from this man. Long story short, he ends up reading it against his will, which is just unfortunate. And he is now tasked with delivering the manuscript back to the real world. He doesn't want to do it. He gets forced into doing it, even though when he gets back to the real world, he burns the manuscript and then tries to kind of like report back what he experiences. And he's like, "Wait, no, you delivered us the manuscript like months ago. Our movie's gonna drop in like a few weeks. What are you talking about? You did a good job. Also, the assistant that we sent you with to find this person, no, you went alone. I don't know what you're talking about." So gaslighting on an epic scale, mind you. And so the movie ends with this man just slowly going insane. And a little tidbit I skipped over, he apparently, in the beginning of the film, it was more of a flash forward type of thing where you get introduced to the man getting put into a padded cell because he has lost his marbles. And yeah, he's retelling his whole story to another person, and I believe it's another psychiatrist that visits him. And the guy just leaves after he's finishing the story. He leaves John with like a very disturbed look on his face, as if he believes everything he's telling him, and the whole world has broke out to pandemonium at the end of the film. And meanwhile, you just have John going to a movie theater, watching the film, and just laughing hysterically and crying. And yeah, it's a more surreal ending of, oh, reality and fiction are crossing over or bleeding each other, and he can't tell what's up and down anymore. So yeah, it was a very, very interesting film in tackling insanity.
So you kind of like went through a lot. So we're gonna like go into why I picked that one to be the best one to kind of introduce you to cosmic horror, because there's a lot of like stuff with that film that kind of begins in a very small, simple way, and then as it kind of keeps going, right? If you notice, it starts out very slow, and then it kind of progresses and it progresses and it gets worse and it gets more aggressive, and then you're kind of like, when the hell did this happen? Like, how did I get here?
It just spirals out of control.
Yeah. Oh, you see the perfect term for the next one I'm going to bring up to you guys. You guys should check out, but then we'll get there. Revolving spirals. So,
Okay.
this one was that, but that's how a lot of these stories go, like with the formula with cosmic horror, which kind of still leaves you scratching your head a little bit. But if it's done right, which when I was younger and I watched In the Mouth of Madness, I got the full effect because John Carpenter, that's like one of my heroes, cinematic wise. For those of us in the pop culture, we will never, he's going to go unsung, which is going to suck, because a lot of us will never know how many things that we like today that was originally influenced by John Carpenter in one way or another. You like Suicide Squad? Go thank John Carpenter. You like Metal Gear Solid? Go thank John Carpenter. Two films of his, one film of his inspired both of those things. You like well, geez, I can't even keep going. You like ghost movies? One of his ghost movies, one of the best one, The Fog. The Deus Ex Machina one with the Prince of Darkness. Like, I can keep going about this guy forever. You like Ditto? That's the thing. With John Carpenter, but much to the dismay with this one, it wasn't received very well. But to those in the cosmic horror realms over the years, they really love it. And I go back to it, like the effect it had on me was, what the hell was in the hole he was looking at with that effect, right? When Sutter Kane reaches into his face and he kind of rips the fabric of time, and he's like glaring over the hole, right, seeing into like the darkness of the space-time continuum. You're like, what is in there? Where is he standing in those few seconds, right, where he's like glaring into the abyss and you see like the written word on the other side of the page, and you're like, what the hell is in there? Like, what's going on? And you see the monsters on the other side. You see like quick glimpses of the monsters, right? It's 1994. Nowadays they would show you those monsters, but back in the day the effectiveness was you can't tell what it is.
No, and I mean, it would even kind of miss the point, because a feature of Lovecraft is that it's just so horrible that you can't even comprehend it. Even if you see it, you can't make sense of it.
Yeah, to see it is to go insane, because your brain is not meant to comprehend what it is. Right, which is like what one of the things about cosmic horror, which I'll ask you guys your opinion after I give mine. I genuinely believe that at some point in time we have experienced it, but the people who live to tell the tale are so nutty after the fact that we dismiss it and we make up our own comprehensive explanations for it. My opinion. Like, I'll give one example I brought up on the Ghastly Hallows before. The boats that are sinking off of the coast of Portugal and Spain, right? The whales that are attacking the boats.
Yeah.
I mean, that is very systematic for whales to be doing that. What if something else is out there telling the whales to do it? Right?
That's an idea.
What if something is out there in the trenches telling them to do it? What if the whales are afraid of this thing and they're knocking down the ships to kind of send a message to this thing? Like, no, we're just as strong. You don't scare me, right? I
That would be a
mean,
pretty cool story.
it is a pretty. What if it's actually happening, right? Like, like there's a few things that I look at sometimes that's going on out there, but I'll get to the next one. I'll actually save one for the end, which I kind of picked
Okay.
up on while I was in Japan. But I want to ask you guys your opinion. What do you guys think that of all the genre of horror, like what do you think makes this one kind of stick out a little
This
more?
movie or this genre?
Genre. So this movie to me is more like a blueprint of the genre. Like it hits a lot of the beats that a
Sure.
lot of the books hit.
It's like a
Yeah.
summary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to go first, Red?
Yeah, well, I think that it so a lot of horror is very localized in that it's a very limited setting. And for the most part, I think that that's what makes good horror. Like it takes place on one block or in one house or in one town. There's not a lot of traveling between places, and somehow that makes it feel scarier because it's like it could happen to you. Like it feels like just norm. It feels just like normal life. So it's like, well, what if something like that is happening near you? And a feature, and I think a really effective feature of cosmic horror is that it starts out like that often, like very localized. But then, as the plot unfolds, you realize, oh wait, this is much bigger than I could have predicted. Oh wow, this is like the this little thing that happened in this little town has like cosmic consequences, and it's just like it just blows you away. It's sort of like it's sort of like um, mind-bendingly awesome when done right. So that's what I think.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, could this shit be going on next door? Right?
Yeah, yeah, right, right. Are things as small as they appear?
Yeah. Um, to go off on that, one time, right, I actually just randomly watched a video, some people detailing what is black matter. And it kind of sparked a theory that maybe the edge of the universe is a solid material which blocks out light, and that there might be more beyond the edge, but the only forms of light are the stars that we can see, and we can't see too far in because something is obviously shading it, which is what black matter may be. It might be just the wall, right? And the lights are too
Right.
dim to see the edge of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was looking at that, I'm like, huh, if that is the edge of the universe and it's a wall, I wonder what's on the other side.
Right.
And you could go insane wondering that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. It's too big for you to comprehend, and somehow that makes it terrifying.
Yeah.
Another, I think, important feature of cosmic horror, at least of the Lovecraftian variety, is that it often involves like not just big things, but very old things, and somehow things that have been around for longer than you can even for time periods that you can't comprehend. That's scary too, because it's like, oh my gosh, everything is so much bigger than me. I'm so tiny, and it often involves like ancient beings that have always been in control coming back and like seizing back the planet from us, and it's like, oh my god, we've never been in control. Like our understanding of what we are and what all of this is just collapsing before our eyes. It's like it touches on a fear that's deeper than the fear of that's deeper than the fear of death. It's like the death of our understanding, the death of our knowledge, the death of our sense of what all this means.
Yeah, I mean,
Like the death of what we understand ourselves to be.
the death of reality, which is the
Yeah.
perception of what we see around us and what we see above where we are. Or some people go like, "Oh, um, I actually like. How do I explain this? One time, I was actually during the pandemic. I had to explain to people that a virus is something that can, in fact, cause as much damage as COVID was doing, but a lot of people were still very much trying to kind of like say, well, it was a man-made thing, and if they released this, I don't know how they could ever release this man-made thing. I can't understand it. And I kind of just had to say, I'm like, hey, nature can do these things. And when I was sitting at home working from home for a while, I kept hearing people say that, like, oh yeah, how can somebody engineer this thing in the lab? And it brought me to a sort of moment of enlightenment. People who say that are people that refuse to understand that they live with Mother Nature, and that they don't control Mother Nature.
We are at her mercy.
Yeah, we are at Mother Nature's mercy at all times. And the ancient Maya used to have a belief that the planet is in fact alive and sentient. They believe that the planet does things to itself to rid itself of diseases and famine, and that possibly, for example, global warming is kind of a way of clearing like some kind of infection or fungus or something because of all the damage that humans do to the planet. And some of the Maya actually believe that. They're like, well, the remaining tribes that are out there, indigenous folk, they're like, well, when you have fungus, what's the best way to clear it? You go out into the sun and you put your bare feet in the sun to help burn off and shrivel it away. And that concept to me in 2020 was like, it's the same shit. Like, a lot of people think that a disaster is a tornado. They can't comprehend that there are little things that they have to coexist with on this planet that might have their own little society that we just don't know because we're too big to see it and we don't care. Right?
Right, yeah.
Bolt, your turn. So this movie sparked 2 to 3 items. First thing I'll talk about would be that this movie reminded me of that movie Bird Box. In the concept of like, because you mentioned how you're not supposed to look at the monsters in this movie. You're not supposed to look at the manuscript, otherwise you would definitely go mad. Because in the movie, people who have read Sutter's latest novel's manuscript went mad, and you can tell either by their insane murderous tendencies, which are at random, or the fact that they were bleeding out of their eyes.
What does that include?
Yeah. So, and people can say, "Oh, wait, that could just mean it's just so bad that it caused the person's eyes to bleed." Like, you know what? You can't tell because you're either bleeding out of your eyes because you read the manuscript and you're doing the same crazy things as going out and causing a whole massive panic and attribute to a murdering spree, or you're one of the people that doesn't read the manuscript but just either profits off of it or just critique it as like, oh, the guy's a hack based off his previous novels, which is just that was an interesting stance to take by our main character John. But nonetheless, he lived, so he wasn't punished for it.
Not on camera.
Yes, at least not on camera.
Well, actually, he is sort of punished because they allude to his fate. She says something of, What if the whole
All right.
world turned out to be screwed up, and in the end, the last person alive was just there to see it, and then they're the ones who are insane?
Thank you, because that leads me to the second thing, the concept of reality. Because the assistant Linda
Mm.
Stiles, there's a quote that's really stood out to me, and it goes, "A reality is just what we tell each other it is. Sane is and insane could easily switch places.
Mm-hmm.
If the insane were to become the majority, you would find yourself locked in a padded cell wondering what happened to the world." And that's just exactly what happens to John. He gets
Yeah.
locked away in a padded cell, just scribbling like drawings of crosses. I can't tell if they were all the rights, the Christianity cross, or the inverted satanic, because what we saw in his experience, they were all inverted. The inverted version of the Christian cross, which would make sense. But I guess it was just like a goof in the prop department for his scene. But yeah, it's like and we kind of see that going on now. Like what you're saying is like people are now debating and not accepting the reality of what is in front of them. Like you could present them with something that's been that people hundreds of years ago went out of their way, died even, and broke their backs to prove and make scientific breakthroughs to help advance our society. That way, we are not stuck in the archaic dark ages where we're basically sacrificing people because we have no understanding or no idea of how things are in nature. And we're in a more modern and advanced society. But it feels like we're kind of like flip flopping. We keep like we're trying to have our cake and eat it too. Like, oh yeah, we would like modern advances like the internet, but at the same time, we are using it to spread archaic, outdated, and nonsensical information.
Yeah, vaccines are the devil. Vaccines are evil. Back in the day, nobody got vaccinated. You did. No, you're fired. I don't know what you're talking about, whippersnapper. I was never vaccinated. You were vaccinated, and that's why you didn't have those problems. You just raised in a house with people that didn't give you pills or anything because they didn't have them, dick.
And it's just weird because it's like there's no room for any middle ground. It's just like it's
Either
it's like an
you,
extreme.
yep, it's either you sit there with me and you agree with me, or get the fuck out of my life. I will not have you disagreeing with me on anything. Type deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how it is, and like all that stuff, believe it or not, plays into it because there are some stories where like if I believe in the Cthulhu mythos, right? Uh, if Cthulhu is present near the ocean or something like that, people tend to start behaving really, really, really negatively towards one another, like aggressively angry, or they fight, or they start killing each other the closer he is. I've read in some of the stories, and people start going insane. But to me, the more so fascinating side of Cthulhu and the mythos is it's that Cthulhu is portrayed as this large sort of octopus-faced, bat-winged monster, right? Kaiju type being. But he doesn't give a shit from anything that I see. He's like very uncaring and cold. But he is
he doesn't have evil. A personality. He doesn't speak.
Yeah, he doesn't speak. He's just there. And because of his appearance, it's so hard to kind of comprehend what his deal is, and people go insane. And that's a lot of Lovecraft and cosmic horror as a whole. The monsters don't really do anything. People do stuff because of the monsters.
Interesting.
Like Dagon, something like that too. You're saying, Bolt?
Right. It's like it's like it's like a disease where it's not the actual invasive material that hurts you, it's your reaction to it that hurts yourself.
Pretty
Which
much.
reminds me of Bird Box because, like, similar
Oh
to what
yeah.
you're saying, in that movie, it's like the monster doesn't kill you; it's looking at it kills you, or worse, turn it like for certain individuals. If you look at the monster, you become a disciple, and then you you basically kill others by getting them to look at the monster against their will,
Mhm.
usually. It's it kind of like it's kind of funny because it's like like you're saying like Cthulhu doesn't have a personality, he's just indifferent. Bird Box doesn't give leeway to such an interpretation. It's more like, okay, these are creatures that are unfathomable, but it feels like they're kind of attention seekers. They're like, it feels like they're basically a person who's
Mhm.
speaking a different language is trying to get your attention,
Yeah.
and as a result, bad things are happening to the people that they're trying to contact, and so they're just being ostracized and abandoned, and they're still wondering like, wait, why are these people running away from me? I'm just trying to have a conversation, and they lock themselves in a hidey hole that's in a penetrable base underground. Well, there goes that conversation. And here I am with the keys to eternal life, and I can't tell them how to unlock it. Meanwhile, the people that are able to observe them and see them without killing themselves instantly are spreading misinformation and killing more people that they're trying to communicate with. So it's like I can't say that these entities, these cosmic creatures, are innocent in a sense, because it's like I feel like they should operate at a higher level of intelligence, where it's like, oh, these people I'm trying to communicate are dying, and you're killing themselves, or have just gone completely
They're
insane
doing it for the
and
greater
are not
good.
helping. But the
For
extinction
The
of the
greater
human race.
good.
the greater good.
Hot fuzz.
But
It's okay.
Yep, that was classic. The greater good.
Yeah.
All these people died for no
what?
reason.
Yeah, so many. Except for
Great.
that couple, Machine Gun Kelly and the attractive officer lady. They just bail with the car, which was a dick move. But
Right.
it's the apocalypse, so
Machine Gun Kelly.
yeah.
Wait,
Oh,
what?
he was in Bird Box.
Oh yeah. You know what? I
Yeah.
skipped Bird Box.
I don't want to
It's
say you're not
okay.
missing much, because I love Sandra Bullock's performance in that film.
I love
It's
Sandra
worth
Bullock.
watching.
I know it's on my list. It's just one of those things that like I meant to watch, and then it got overshadowed by something else that it came out next to on Netflix at the time.
What was it?
Train to Busan was put on
Oh,
Netflix
okay.
right next
Oh,
to Bird Box, and
oh, that's not what I was thinking of.
Train
There was
to
another movie.
Busan was more up my alley. It was like
Hmm.
it was a pretty good zombie movie, and it had zombie movies in this house have a higher replay value than other films do.
it's, it's in the rule book.
Yeah, like in our family rule book, a zombie film will be rewatched about 100 times, most likely by my sister, and then we will get back to anything else when we remember that it's a thing and we give a shit. But until then, we're just gonna be watching zombie films. That film is
You
gonna get reused.
you you
Which we got.
you. It seems like you treat zombie films the way that zombies themselves would treat them.
Yeah, we just stare at them drone and
Yeah,
just
that's it.
watch
Men,
movie.
men fall down.
Funny.
Funny.
Ah.
It's interesting because zombie films, yeah, we're getting on topic. This is something that we'll kind of discuss when we get to a zombie episode. But it's like it's very digestible. It's like nothing. Like either it's very funny, and it's like you can just watch a zombie film, just like with low stakes, or it's like very gruesome in terms of like The Walking Dead. Not The Walking Dead. No, wrong one. The Last of Us on HBO, where it's like okay, yeah, it's very like gritty, very.
All right, Bolt, you just caused us to go into the zombie discussion next week.
Yeah, well, new year, gotta switch it up.
All right,
I'll be
zombies next
instigating.
week. So you're gonna go watch Night of the Living Dead black and white classic, because I guarantee you haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, all right, yeah, sure. We're just gonna go for low blows. Okay.
You haven't seen it, have you?
I will not confirm nor deny that.
That's a no.
No. I will not confirm nor deny that.
That's a no in my book.
Yeah, that's not how the law works.
Red,
That's a no in the book.
Yeah, Red, that's a no, right? Yep.
Anyways,
Yeah. I watched Night of the Living Dead. Dawn of the Dead is great too.
Oh yeah, that's the one I've heard about for years. I can't remember if I've seen it or not. I'm gonna go with a no.
28 Days Later. Those are probably the big 3 zombie movies.
Yeah. 28 Days Later actually has a huge effect on a lot of stuff that we like. But back to cosmic horror before.
Back to cosmic horror.
Let's
turn our eyes back to the cosmos.
Yes.
The third thing I want to kind of touch on in regards to what this movie kind of like got me thinking about. Don't you think like certain things like say music, current content that's on the internet, and other just like let's say like media forms are like a great conduit for these types of let's say cosmic entities. So like what I'm trying to drive at is like is it like can you attribute like a lot of like a cosmic entity to the successful rise of a lot of artists or like creative influencers? Because it's like why are these like certain things very catch wild like wildfire like overnight seemingly? It's like it feels like you're the same person watching the masses go insane, and you just feel like John does, and you're just like you're just waiting to go insane.
Okay, right, huh? So
it's a fun thought.
Yeah. So are you? So you're asking, does anybody feel like John when they see something become popular overnight or some idea become widespread very quickly, and you just feel like you're the odd man out, just like you're watching it's like everyone is going crazy but you, and that makes you wonder if you're going crazy
every day.
It's like because like even though this is like the movie just like okay, yeah, there's like in the movie they describe people like rioting, and like there have been like I think there were murders attributed during those riots, but like whatever have you, that has happened in real life where people have gotten so obsessed over a piece of media, whether a book, a song.
You're talking specifically media.
Yes, this media as a whole, because it's only been with media that you just have like people just get so obsessed with it, and they take it upon themselves to find an identity in it or create one if it doesn't exist, and then just take it to the extreme where like people's lives are in danger.
I kind of feel like that sort of thing may have been more of a feature of when this movie came out, 1994, because now we all have kind of our own media feeds with how our social media timelines are curated to us based on what we've looked at or liked in the past. So I feel like something completely taking over the culture doesn't happen as often as it used to. The last one I can think of.
I'm gonna counter one with the.
Okay, one counter that I can think of for my own argument is Barbie. that seemed to like take over everything for a minute.
That is a perfect example because I mean, just like with this film, this book, like this author's been well known for years. He put out multiple books,
Mhm.
so it's just like this wasn't like an overnight thing. But like in similar to Barbie, this was like a long-standing franchise
Right.
that has
Yeah.
done well, and it's just like like the Barbie movie that came out last year over the summer
Yeah.
drops, and it did over $1 billion at the box office, which is just insane.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Barbie had been so irrelevant up until that movie.
Yeah, but it
Like,
was a long-standing franchise, though. Funny enough, it's
yeah.
like
She
like
was an
they were never in threat.
institution, but you never really heard of Barbie. Barbie had never been as prominent as she is now. You know what I mean? She was
Yeah,
like
but
the girl's toy, but then like
mm,
at some point towards the mid 2000s, she has a fade, and then after that movie comes out, like Barbie is number one again. You know, like
Right.
she's the top
Yeah.
doll again in the toy
but she was
industry.
never in any. She was never in any danger of becoming irrelevant because like during the
She
intro between
she had stiff competition from other
yeah.
toys coming in and like kind of dethroning her for a bit. The difference
I mean,
is she
I
was
for one was getting worried.
But she was like, at least from my perspective, she was never in any danger of like, going the route of Blockbuster or Toys R Us where you just go bankrupt and you just get discontinued. It's like she didn't reign
That poor
easily.
giraffe.
actually no. They tried to discontinue Barbie a few times. The difference is that the Barbie people are kind of like flexible. So like Barbie's, I'll tell you like how it went down when I was growing up because my niece was like the first little girl we had in the family in years. So she didn't have Barbies. She had Monster High. That was like the thing when she was a little girl. And before that, it was Bratz. And then Barbie had like a little resurgence there. And then something took out Barbie and then brought back. Those two were fighting for it. And then after this movie, Barbie Girl is back. Right? Like girls are buying Barbies again. Because the message finally came back where it's like, yes, Barbie isn't just an accessories chick. Like Barbie is whatever the girl makes Barbie to be. You know, she's a doctor, she's a ranger, she's a mom, she's whatever you want her to be. And the other dude is just Ken, because like the reality is Ken is an accessory to Barbie. Because I knew a lot of like my sister, for example, she didn't need a Ken doll. She would just go take my brother's Rambo doll or the GI Joe doll, and that was the dude, and that was it.
Life hack.
Yeah, like, but that's what a lot of girls would do. Like, if you had a doll around the same size, even sold X-Men ones, you don't need Ken. He's just Ken. That's it. That's a perfect fitting thing. But in real life, like Ken got it nominated for an Oscar and she didn't. But before we go back to Barbie and we continue down the rabbit hole that is that goddamn movie that is its own cult now. There was actually a very dark thing that happened years after this movie was released with something that is well known to the people who are following internet culture. He started out as a video game some point in 2011, this character, and then he became a meme some point around 2014, and then the typical tragedy happened. You guys know about Slenderman?
Yeah.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a murder attributed to Slenderman. Two girls, preteens, took their friend out into the woods. They tricked her. She actually attempted murder. The girl made it out, and basically they tried to kill her as a tribute to Slenderman.
Mm-hmm. And this wasn't based on a particular story. This was based on just kind of like internet lore.
Yeah, internet lore.
Yeah.
And like Slender, there's a game out there called Slender, right? We're like here running in the woods from Slenderman. It's like a freeware freeware game on Steam out there you can get without any issue. But like Slenderman for a little while there was like one of the top memes, right? Like you could pretty much go and Google Slenderman anywhere, and then like they would insert him into everything, right? And all of a sudden, at some point, they even made a movie about him a couple years ago, formally. But these girls were following the internet lore, and they actually went ahead and tried to kill someone in the name of Slender, to appease or for tribute to Slenderman. The creator of Slenderman had to come out and be like, "Hey guys, yeah, it's all fake. You know, it's just a fictional story. Like, you guys you shouldn't try these. You shouldn't think he's a real person or a real creature or entity or anything. It's all fake." But that was one of the first times I think I remember hearing as an adult someone actually doing something like that, and I'm like, wow, I never thought these things happened. And there you go, over Slenderman, who is, I think, internet lore cosmic horror, right? There's like, you don't know who Slenderman is, you don't know where Slenderman came from. He's just this thing that abducts you when you're running in the middle of the night with a suit and tie on and tentacles coming out of the back.
Trying to get $5 from you or $20 from you.
I worry about that $250.
Oh my goodness! I'm just like,
damn you!
What kind of? That was just like, when I heard that piece of it, it took me out of it. Honestly, it took me out of the whole horror aspect, and it became just ridiculous and funny.
Damn you, like, Slender really, Man! Go get yourself somebody else $350. For all of you millennials out there who watch South Park, I hope you appreciate that comment. Go out there and get your own $350. But so I'll actually bring this one around too. One other question regarding these things, though, cosmic horror. Aside from H.P. Lovecraft, have you guys heard of any other stories that are attributed with this genre that are very popular?
Cabin in the Woods comes to mind.
Yes.
That one.
Yes, yeah. that one was legit too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That one was like a black comedy type of take on it, though.
Yes.
Yeah, that one kind of got me when I first saw it.
It is a comedy.
It was a comedy, but it was really good. And I'm like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting to enjoy this one as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, imagine if cosmic horror was like, form of The Office / game show.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I wouldn't call it a game show. It was more like in the form of The Office / like I don't want to say Hunger Games, but like type of like scripted
reality show.
Yes, yeah, that's the best way to do it, because it's like this is happening in different parts of the world to appease some merciless god, which is just like, well, okay. that is just, you basically people who look like they work in accounting managing your life, and they're making it a sick game out of it.
Yeah, and it's like everything that we know down to just like the basics is not what it has appeared like throughout all of humanity's run.
Yeah, my favorite scene is where he makes her drop the knife. He like does a little shock and she drops the knife. Like, oh wait a minute, and she drops the knife like you do in the horror movies. But what I always thought was interesting about that one is they're the American team, the group that you're following, trying to get these guys, trying to get these people like killed in the house. And supposedly America wasn't even supposed to be like the number one. The number one team is supposed to be Japan. And when Japan loses, that guy is like cussing into the screen, fuck you. That the little girl's killing the frog. Fuck you.
With the power of friendship.
Like the power of friendship.
Just sang. They made a circle and they just sang to it.
And like the best part about that is I tell people it's like on TikTok I actually had a bit of a back and forth with some people with this one, but it sucks that that film ends the way that it does, right?
Oh, why?
Because it kind of closes the door to other stories that I think I would have liked to have seen in that world.
Oh, it's not open for a sequel, you mean?
Yeah, it's not open to anything else. But
No.
then I kind of said, no, actually, it is. You can still do something with it. It just has to come in the form of a prequel. Because I would like to see the struggles from the other teams around the world do things the way that the horror movies are done in their countries. Because, for example, in Japan, your survival rate in a horror movie is 10%. Like
Yeah,
in
that's
those
being
movies,
generous.
you always lose. Like you can never really make it out in Japanese horror. Whereas in Mexican horror, right, when it's a slasher film, I've seen a few. People stick together.
Hmm.
They don't split up. The only times they split up is if they absolutely have to split up because maybe there's a way out and one guy needs to go hit a switch to get them out, right, to open the door. But even then, like they don't just go to the door and hope for the best. Like they're waiting for the dude to get back. They don't just go, right? Like that's what it would be like in real life. So it makes it a little more exciting because you can tell that the slasher has to work to get these kids, like it would be for real, right? Like you would have to be. People don't split up in real life in those situations. At least I would like
Unless
to
you're
think
in
so.
America.
At least I would like
Unless
to
you're in
think so.
Unless you're in America, where
That's
that is the first thing people do. Like, actually, no, the first thing you do is just argue and do something stupid or
Yeah.
say something stupid, and then they split up.
Actually, the first thing they
right.
do is there's a dark abandoned room over there. Let's go check it out.
Yeah, the splitting up in American horror films is where the rugged individualism backfires.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Every time.
Nope. Don't have
Every
honor. Nope. Just hide, run.
But it was funny. So like, I would like to see how the other international teams handled it. Like
Right.
the Japanese team. Like, wait, I want to see how these guys clear the success rate and stop the apocalypse all the time. That would be hilarious to see, you know, or it would be fun to see like the Mexican team or the teams around the world try this out, and then like America's team is always kind of like, yeah, well, you know, they always have a final girl because they're always like so meh on their rules, but like over there in Japan, that's not how it works. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite cosmic horror guys is Japanese. Junji Ito. Have you guys heard of Junji Ito before?
Junji Ito, no.
So, earlier today you pointed out when we were talking at the beginning, things spiral out of control. Junji Ito wrote a manga series called Uzumaki, which is Japanese for the spiral.
Or spiral.
And
Okay, I remember reading up on him randomly once, but yeah, I never really saw it.
Oh man, so talk about starting slow, right? And something that could be next door. Uzumaki basically talks about how a spiral entity starts to affect the town, and you're following from the point of view of this one girl who is kind of like witness to all of the stories, and she's kind of watching the town get engulfed bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, right? And she's trying her best to kind of like make sense of everything, but by the time she makes sense of everything, it's too late. People are going insane, and it starts out very small. One guy is just fixated on spirals. He's drawing spirals on his drawing board. He's spinning his noodles to do the vortex noise. He's seeing spirals. He's like spinning his eyes around to do a spiral, and ultimately he dies, right? And when he dies, in Japan, right, when you go to a funeral, when someone passes away, what they do is everybody has a plot. So on TikTok, I posted a video of me walking down a Japanese graveyard because I always like to check out like how different cultures handle that. So most of the time, right, it's because there's a scarcity in land. They don't bury the bodies; they bury the ashes. They put the ashes in a plot with the rest of the family. So they put their when they're cremating the body, there's this giant smoke that comes out of the chimney in Uzumaki, and it forms a giant storm cloud in the shape of a spiral. And the following week, the dude's widow starts hearing the voices. Hello, Samazaki-san. Would you like to join me in the spiral? Would you like to join me in the spiral? And she's like, what the fuck? She's like thinking it's a nightmare. And then she starts to see him in the shadow, like spinning because she's dizzy from not sleeping. And she can't stop hearing his voice. The spiral, the spiral, the spiral, the spiral. And anything that she sees, right, that has a spiral, she keeps seeing his face. She keeps hearing the voice. Would you like to join me in the spiral? Would you like to join me? Join me, join me, join me. Until she goes to the doctor and she says she's hearing things and she can hear it clearly. And she sees on the x-ray that her eardrums are in the shape of a spiral.
Oh, God.
So she thinks that this is why he's being able to contact her, because of the eardrums. So she thinks that if she can get rid of her eardrums, she will be able to get rid of his voice in her head.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes, and the doctor walks away. She takes a gigantic needle and she pokes out her eardrums. Now, she shouldn't have done that, because this is what happens when you poke out the eardrums. You become extremely dizzy, because the eardrums also help retain the water in your brain, right? So that you don't go nuts, you don't go dizzy. So now she's disoriented, and everything she sees now is in a spiral form. And that's what he needed to do. He needed her to do, and he took her away. He took her over. She dies, like she can't take everything anymore, and he takes her soul. And then she joins him in the spiral. And then other isolated incidents that start happening in the town, from people being absorbed by the spiral, having their bodies shifted, mutilated into a spiral form. People turning into snails, because what's on the back of a snail, right? And
the side of a snail.
And then people are just starting to lose all of who they once were. The whole town becomes a gigantic spiral in itself. The houses get turned into that, and it's because underneath the ground there was another civilization that was once a part of it, that was once there well beforehand. You don't see anything about it. You don't get to know about it. It was all one giant city beforehand, and this isn't once. This happens a lot. It's a gigantic spinning cycle that swallows everything there in that town, and chances are one day the town will be buried, and it'll start over again and again and again and again, trapping the people in that existence. And it was insane when you read it. And like that's what this guy's kind of MO is. It's cosmic horror, but the idea is it's something that you can't defeat. Like, what can you do against that thing, right? You're just a regular person. What can you do against a gigantic entity that Lord knows how long it's been around? That is the job of it. Its job is to create whole villages and convert them into spirals. Absorb them all in one hit. Right? What can you do against that?
Sure.
Nothing you can.
No.
And that's like what I like about this genre. It's like, in reality, you are helpless against the infinite and the unknown. Right? What could you do if you saw Cthulhu step out into the ocean one day and you're standing at the beach? Like, what really would you do? Right?
I'd wonder if I were actually seeing what I was seeing.
About you, Bolt?
I would just try to see if I can get as far away from that situation as humanly possible. I'm not questioning it.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, that is not normal.
Okay,
Where is
so you know how
okay?
like at a park they'll have like a pamphlet that says what to do if you see a bear.
Mm-hmm.
Our first piece of Ghastly Hallows merch will be a what to do if you see Cthulhu pamphlet.
Damn straight.
Run.
And I'll tell you what I
Yeah.
would do.
You run. You run.
Step
There's
one.
nothing to do. You run.
Okay.
Here's what you do.
Here's what
You
if you
flee.
don't have your Cthulhu spray on you.
Here's what you
Cthulhu
do.
spray.
You walk out. You walk out to the beach, and you look him in the eye, and you meet him face on. At which point there will be some kind of weird music playing all in your head, and then you put on your fedora, and you reach for the katana sword, and you go for it. You run charging with all your heart and speed and energy at it, because what else can you do other than go out in a nice flame of flabby neckbeard Cheeto glory with just swinging your
Go.
fake katana sword at it?
You're just advertising people to just go out and die, aren't you?
You're gonna die anyway. Might as well die a weeby hero.
Oh my goodness! You can not
Go
towards
down
your
swinging.
I refuse
Go
to
down
be
swinging.
enslaved.
I, for one, reject this tentacled bat-winged overlord.
Damn straight. Then you hear the playing in the background. For those of you who watch Attack on Titan, that's how you go down. Well, oh, I'm sorry. I should just kneel before our tentacle overlord and just, be like that guy from The Mummy. Yes, master, I serve you still. But here's actually one other thing which I'm also going to point out on this one. I believe that it's also one of the oldest forms of storytelling, cosmic horror. And while I was in Japan, I think I might have encountered... So, this is going to sound crazy, right? But like, of all the horror genres, vampires, zombies, the mystical ones, right? Vampires, zombies, werewolves, you name it, right? I believe that cosmic horror may have happened or could be happening around us in the vast expanse of the universe. Have you guys ever heard of the story of the Legend of the Bamboo Cutter?
No.
The tale of Princess Kaguya, the Moon Princess?
No.
So the story goes, right, a bamboo cutter cuts a bamboo wood tree, right? And inside the tree there's a little creature. And then it jumps into his hands and it morphs into a little girl, a baby girl. He takes it to his wife, and the wife goes, well, I don't know who's going to take care of this baby, and suddenly she grows breasts out. So it's kind of like the earth telling her, yeah, you're controlling this. You're raising this baby. The bamboo cutter starts to raise the little girl, and as he goes out into the woods, he finds silk in the trees. He finds gold in the trees. As she's getting older and she's playing with all the other kids, right, he keeps finding riches among the trees, which to him implies that it's time to take her to the city and that she needs to be kind of pampered as royalty, because he keeps getting all of this wealth every time he cuts the bamboo, right? So she grows up to be very beautiful, and they take her away to the city. And she never wanted to leave the small town. She loved the small town. She even had somebody that she had a crush on. And she had all these friends, and she dreamed of going back to the small town. There's a Studio Ghibli film on this. So after a while, she's forced to kind of deal with the nobility, because the nobility keep going to ask for her hand, and they try to do stupid... what was it called when Hercules tried... The labors. They try to do stupid labors, which get each one of them killed. in attempts to seduce her until the emperor shows up. And the emperor wanted her, and she's like, no, right? So after a while, she gets kind of fed up of this whole thing, and she sends a signal out. Inadvertently, she sends a signal out to go home because she's not from Earth. It turned out that she knew all along, subconsciously, where she was from. She's from the moon. And her people sent her to Earth because she requested to go back to Earth to see what it would be like to live as a human. And all of those things that the dad kept pulling out of the tree, the bamboo farm, the bamboo guy kept pulling out of the trees was tributes so that he could take care of her. They were sending that because they're kind of godly. So she goes back at the end of the story. She forgets who her family is, and she goes back to the moon, right? So what does this have to do with what I saw over there? When I was on my way to Japan, there was an earthquake over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we went to one of the biggest bamboo forests in the city, in the country. But while I was there, I asked Crystal just a simple question. I'm like, hey, we know the story of Princess Kaguya. It's actually one of the original space operas of all time in existence. The portrait is somewhere out there in Japan, too. The large, expansive portrait of the moon folk coming to pick her up. I go, could we see that bamboo forest? Is that possible? To which Crystal goes, oh, actually, she says, it's on the other side of town where we are, but we can't go there. I go, oh. She goes, the earthquake, that's the epicenter for the earthquake. And I wait, what? She's like, that's the epicenter for the earthquake. And in my head, right, my weird way of seeing the universe, I sound crazy a lot of the times. All right, when I heard that story, I go, the trick is, if she ever were to return, don't take her out of the forest. She's happy being in the forest among common people. I look at Crystal and I go, what if she came back and they didn't take her out of the forest? She stops like, say that again? I'm like, okay, what if she came back and they didn't take her out of the forest? And now this forces whoever has her to take her out of the forest. She has to go to the city. She's confused, naturally. I'm like, well, what if they sent the princess back to Earth? The family, it's a very famous folk story over there. The family knows, and the family realizes that they're happy in a smaller town. She's happy in a smaller town. So they didn't move her from the smaller town. They're probably just living very prosperous in the small town. What if that family is still there with her to this day, and they're keeping her happy there? And because they don't want to take her to the fancier, nicer parts of Japan, Tokyo, main Osaka, right near the castle where Osaka is at, they don't want to take her there. They want to keep her where she is. Suddenly, there's an earthquake, and now she's got to go. You know, I got looked at like I was crazy for a few seconds, but now in my head, I'm sitting there going,
naturally.
yeah, you know, but it's one of those things, right? Like, we have whales attacking boats off the face of the planet. Who's to say that the moon princess isn't here on Earth, and it's time to take her to where she's gonna go so she can go home? Or maybe she just wants to go home because she's scared. A lot of crazy crap is happening. Yeah, I mean, the planet is experiencing a lot of crazy shit. Like, what if she just wants to go home?
I cannot disprove that hypothesis.
No, right? But it's an idea, isn't it?
It's an idea, yeah.
I mean, the whole time we were there, they were scared of tsunamis. Say it again, sorry.
She's giving princesses a bad name. Like, she's called the Moon Princess and she's trapped on Earth. Like, you know how many people would yell at her to just find her way back up to the moon?
Well, what if they are
I've seen the
yelling
memes
at her?
now.
What if they are yelling at her, and the way that the gods yell at someone is by causing a gigantic earthquake?
So non-helpful. Got it.
No, in all seriousness, right? Like, hey, remember, what we see around us is a very small thing compared to what's out there. I mean, this is also going to sound insane, right? But
Mhm.
in the Bible, do any humans ever hear God's voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Don't they send
Uh,
it? Doesn't God send an
Adam.
angel? Doesn't God use? Right? Like it's not like a direct conversation he's having with anybody after the fall. It's like, oh, you fucked up. You could understand my voice because you came from here, but you screwed up. I don't need to talk to you anymore. And then from there, his
He's still
children.
talking with them.
How is it that God communicates with Abraham? Like, how is it that he tells him to kill Isaac?
Doesn't he get this? Doesn't somebody do it for him? Doesn't an angel come down and
No, I
tell
think
him?
I think that is
yeah,
direct. Yeah,
yeah. No,
that's direct communication.
that's the
Yeah.
angel reference.
Is that an angel?
Yeah, that's an angel.
Right? He
I can't. I
never.
need to. I think when he's about to commit the act, I think that's when he interferes directly.
Yeah, that's when the stone tablet breaks, right? The stone, but he's gonna sacrifice him on the stone table, right, or something like that. And then the table breaks.
Yeah, the altar.
But they never really talk to each other. It breaks and it's like, oh, okay, that means it's not supposed to happen. It's just he just wanted to see that I would do it. We're good, right?
And then of course you have the Family Guy scene where it's like, oh, that conversation afterwards, like coming back down from the mountain.
Right,
I'm
yeah.
just like that. That will always live rent free in my head. That is so hilarious.
That's funny. Yeah.
So it's like, but again, right, in the Bible, there's always something there. Even to my understanding, in the story of Saint Michael, God never steps out onto the archangel. God never steps out onto the battlefield. He just sends an angel to do his bidding for him, right? He sends Archangel Michael to do the bidding for him to cast Satan off of the earth, right? That's how that story goes.
I don't recall.
Well, that's what the Catholic interpret.
I was raised Catholic.
You mean is that in?
Yeah, that's.
Are you wondering? Are you wondering if that's in the Apocrypha?
Maybe. So the reason why I bring all this stuff up is because, as far as I can understand, we never hear the actual voices of these things, right? It's usually something or another in between. And when you look at the biblically accurate depictions of these things, they look like something ripped straight out of Berserk. They don't look like, the typical artists have said or done over the years of the human with the wings. They don't look like that.
Right.
They're very, very different looking in scale, scarier than anything you've seen in a horror movie, which is why, the angels always have to say, "Fear not, I come in peace." In most of most of the stories, because the one that led Mary and Joseph looks like a giant circle with multiple eyes at all times. So the reason why I bring all of this stuff up is we're sitting on a point in the universe, in reality, which is a very niche point where we can only survive in the section of existence where we are right now. And it's big, but it's not that big. Because even in our planet, there are only so many places that we can be where we can survive, right? Try and go set up a house in the North Pole, how long are you going to last, right?
Sure.
Try and go set up a house, try and go set up a room in the Titanic ruins over there, see how long you're going to last, right? Get crushed under the pressure. We live in a very thin area of the world where we can all inhabit and be here. And if you think about it, it's very small compared to what's going on beyond the cosmos. So, if they want us to move a little person out of a town, which I highly doubt is real, but what if it's What are the way they say? Get her out of the town. Get her out. That shout is an automatic earthquake. You know what I mean? By the way, I am writing that short story when I get a minute. Patent pending. Patent pending.
Don't say too much.
Patent pending. Patent pending. Don't steal it from me. Patent pending. But no.
Disclaimers everywhere.
Disclaimers everywhere. I sue you. Here at the Ghastly Hallows podcast, we have Adrian, and we also have other people that sue people for us for fun. That's right. I am so happy. Both
recreational lawsuits.
Yes, they are.
RL.
Just to keep all of our lawyers sharp and edgy. They're
okay.
built for the hunt. No.
Thank goodness they didn't invite you to be on Suits. You would have drove that firm to the ground faster than they did.
It would have been a better show, though.
Yes, it would have.
It would have made sense if they invited you on that show. Because after season 5, that show just
went on more than 2 seasons.
It went up to 9.
Ugh.
And honestly, I think if I'm keeping it honest, they should have all been arrested by the end of season 2. Every single one of them.
He should have been arrested by the end of season 2. Gabriel Macht for doing that terrible fucking movie. He was in that show, wasn't he, Gabriel Macht? The Spirit.
Mach? Like M-A-C-H-T?
Yeah, I thought you spelled it Macht. Said it Macht. I don't know. I just know he was in that terrible fucking movie, The Spirit. He should have been arrested for making that.
You know what? I feel obliged to agree with you there. I never seen it, but I remember seeing his face on the poster for that. I knew never to watch that film.
I'll tell you why you shouldn't watch that movie. There's a random scene where Samuel L. Jackson comes out dressed up as a Nazi.
Oh gosh.
There's no.
Yes, I'm slightly familiar with that.
There's no absolute need for it. There was no racial undertones in the whole film or any discussion of any characters being racist or inherently racist. But for some reason, Samuel Jackson decides to come out wearing a Nazi outfit and a swastika, and there's a picture of real Hitler in the background somewhere. And then out of nowhere, Scarlett Johansson comes out wearing a Nazi uniform, gives him some paperwork, does the Sieg Heil, turns around and walks off camera. I'm pretty sure her soul died a little bit if she had to do that. But as her soul dies and this is all happening, next thing you know, he just continues to be in the Nazi outfit for a while during this scene, and it felt like it went on forever, and I'm like, why is this still going on here? What is the purpose of this? Somebody please tell me what is the point of Sam Jackson wearing that suit. I need to understand. To this day, I still don't understand what the purpose of that was. It's just...
Yeah, if you're gonna have Nazi uniforms, you better be clear about why, I guess.
Yeah, like at least have like a nuanced point. Like if he's a weird, confused character with his race, right? All right, I get it. You just make a few comments, or like maybe he just changes his personalities all the time. Nah, there was none of that. He seemed like a very sane guy, the octopus. There is no... He never acted racist towards any other people, like in the show, like any of that, right? Like, just, no, he's just there, wearing a suit for a gag, for a guy who... It
was an isolated incident.
Yeah, it's an isolated incident that I think they thought was funny, and it's like, not Nazis aren't funny. I know they're trying to make them comical these days by putting them in movies where, like, they fight dinosaurs and shit, or they're on the moon. But Nazis aren't funny. There's nothing funny about Adolf Hitler. There's no punch. What's the punchline? I'm a black guy wearing a Nazi outfit.
That
there's a way
in that sentence just kind of threw me for a loop. I'm like, I have to see the spirit. Just to kind of
don't watch
sense
it. Save yourself the time. Don't watch that movie.
It has Eva Mendes in it.
there's a way that scene could be funny. Like there's ways I can imagine that scene being funny, but if it's not clear why it's funny, then maybe it does seem in bad taste.
Yeah, it falls flat. I'm like, why is this
Yeah.
funny? Like, what the hell is the point of this scene? And it felt like a really long, like 10-minute scene of him just there talking to the spirit in Nazi garbs. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why is this going on? What is happening? Please turn these shits off already. It's uncomfortable. And it just kept on going. Like, oh, okay. We're just gonna double down on the Nazism. It's
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
unnecessary.
Louis Lombardi is in it too.
Don't watch that movie, man. I'm warning you.
I know it's bad,
Well,
and
okay,
it was on my
use
list
the
for the longest time.
Use the time that you were going to use to watch that movie and watch Home Alone instead.
Yes.
Yeah, you're funny. No,
Yeah, for the love of
I gotta
God,
keep
go
up
watch
the
Home
bit.
Gotcha.
Alone
I
instead.
gotta keep up the bit.
We gotcha.
Go
There's no
watch
getting
Home
out of this
Alone.
one.
Go watch Dawn of the Dead.
No.
Go watch anything
Yes.
other than that piece of crap movie. Go watch a
No,
porno.
no.
Anything is more productive than watching the Spirit. There, I said it. Anything is more productive than watching the Spirit. Go watch a WWE match or something. Just don't watch
I know
that
you don't
movie.
mean that. I know you don't mean that.
Yeah, I do mean that.
Why?
Go watch a WWE match instead of go watching that. I'm saying it on record.
your
I
fingers
hate
are crossed.
WWE, but I hate the Spirit even more.
What? Okay, all right. I don't know what they fed you in Japan,
know-
but they clearly brainwashed you as much as they did in that in the movie. Wait, I forgot the name of the movie. Crap. Oh,
In
that
the
joke is
mouth of
gone now.
madness.
Thank you.
You see that?
Yes.
You've been exposed to the Spirit for 2 seconds and it's already rotting brain cells. Don't watch the Spirit. I'm just telling
But you
you.
also mentioned The Room earlier, and that definitely brought back some brain cells lost.
Hey. Whenever you don't care about an argument, you just stop at the person and you shout at them, "No, you're lying. I never did that. You're tearing me apart." And they get the
Walk
point.
out the room.
Yep.
You walk out the.
And you just, walk out the room, or they tell you why you're being hysterical and they walk away. But the point is, you just leave. It is what it
Hysterical.
is. But yes, so on cosmic horror, what are your guys' wrap up thoughts while we go into the closeout of this one? I'll actually put it like this: what is what do you think could be? What's a good way of doing one these days? Because a lot of these films tend to be kind of like harder to do nowadays. Like, what's one idea you think would be a very fascinating way to play with it these days?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And you can't steal my current story. That's mine.
I can answer this one easy because this. Yeah, you know what? I feel cosmic horror and what they can do it nowadays and this will play to a lot of people's fears. Put an AI spin into it. Like I'm basically taking the show American Gods approach and just putting cosmic horror into the form of AI as the god, as the god as being the conduit for cosmic horror.
John Carpenter
And
did it
that
in the 80s. Prince of Darkness.
I hate you. There's no way that he wrote about AI,
Prince
and
of
that's
Darkness.
So
I hate you.
So I think I can piggyback off your AI idea, Bolt, if you don't mind.
I mean, sure, it's already dead in the water, but go ahead.
What if it's like, okay, so okay, but we are going to revive it. We've got it out of the water. We're doing CPR. It's going to be okay. All right. Okay. So what if So in Lovecraft stories, there are these characters called the Old Ones, which are alluded to in the Mouth of Madness, and they're the creatures that have been around for all time, longer than we can comprehend, and they're the ones that have always been in control, and they're coming back. What if AI was the inevitable fulfillment of a prophecy, and the Old Ones are using AI as their conduit to come back? So by making AI, we are fulfilling what is always meant to be and are ushering in our own
Our own
destruction.
destruction. Yeah.
Yes.
Same
Yes.
thing. Destruction, destiny is the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess destiny is a neutral term. It can be positive or negative.
It can indeed.
So we're using destiny. Not the destiny. The destiny trope with AI. That's.
It's our
I don't think we've
destiny
done
to.
that. Oh,
It's our destiny to join every other dead planet in the void, spinning in the spiral of the universe. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what I think.
That's actually one more
spiral.
crazy cosmic horror thing which came up a couple of months ago. Have you guys ever heard of the King in Yellow?
Mm-hmm. The King in Yellow. No.
The Yellow King of Carcosa. Have you guys ever watched
No.
True Detective? True Detective season 1.
Yes.
It's been on my list.
All right.
Yes.
So, the King in Yellow is mentioned, right, in the season 1 of True Detective. That's the alias of the guy that they're looking for the majority of the time. And there's discussion of the cult, right? That's kind of like a part of the whole thing with the King in Yellow,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the King in Yellow is actually a short story that is very hard to pinpoint where it came from. Nobody really knows where this thing came from. It's a monster, though, who's like a giant king looking thing. And it's like one play about the King in Yellow. The Yellow King. So here's where there's other like weird things, right? Which I kind of say like there's a bit of reality to these stories. Just not giant monster, but maybe like people the way that they are. Do you guys know that True Detective was loosely based on a true story? Season 1?
I don't think I knew that. No.
Season 1 is loosely based on a true story of the Westboro Baptist Church in Louisiana. Was caught.
Okay.
They were caught committing like ritualistic sexual violence acts against kids, or something like that.
I don't think that was the Westboro Baptist Church, but
I remember
some other thing. Yeah.
It was a church along that. I'm not sure it was Westboro or not, but I think they were an offshoot. Like one of the guys who ran it at some point, I think worked there or something like that. The case was
The guy that was too hard for Westboro Baptist Church.
something like that. But he was doing
yeah.
like, in the basement of the church that he started. He was secretly running a little cult in the basement of the church, and it turned out that like a lot of these kids were being abducted and stuff. And during the course of True Detective, right, in the show, they arrest a dude, right? The dude is being held in a pretty big prison, and he says, "You think you got your guy, but you didn't." And before they can go talk to him, these two detectives are escorted out of the room. And when they come back, the dude is now dead. And they try to review the footage, but they can't tell if somebody went in there and killed him or if he was asked to kill himself for his own good. Right? That brings me to our famous meme from about 2018, I believe this was, or 2020, where a certain famous billionaire with an island killed himself in the cell, and everybody's quote, including our late friend on his Twitter read, Epstein didn't kill himself. And I sit there and I'm like, wait a minute. Did does shit happen on TV that happens in real life, and then we're just kind of like so in awe that it's like, yeah, it could never happen, and we just kind of look it over when it happens for real,
Right.
right? Like it's like I also believe that there might be people who are out there that worship these things like a cult, like
Hmm.
you know what I mean? I remember making a
Oh,
joke one day about that. You saying?
if you can imagine it, someone has done it. I think there is a quote like that somewhere in the Mouth of Madness. Oh, what is that
Yes, it
quote?
was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, yeah.
If you can dream it, why can't I do it? I just have to say that is one of my favorite horror villains of all time. Jurgen Prochnow as Sutter Kane.
Uh-huh.
He's a monster, but I like him.
Hmm.
Wait, you consider him
Yeah.
the villain?
He is the villain, yeah.
I
I think
mean,
he's a villain, yeah.
he got possessed by the by the monster.
But
Yeah,
he's
he was like,
But he created the monster.
I, mm, I,
Yeah, what if you get possessed by a monster that you made? Is
I
that not still you?
wait. That's wait. Are you sure this? Like, you're making it sound like a chicken versus the egg type of scenario. Like, weren't they already pre-existent? They were in New Hampshire. He just happened to stumble upon them and they possessed him because that's why they were. That's why there's that thing in the back of his head.
Maybe that's meant to be ambiguous.
it is ambiguous. Like really,
Yeah.
the whole truth of that story is Sutter Kane is telling the story from the beginning. And when it feels disjointed, it's because Sutter Kane is erasing it and chopping it up so that his goal is met by the end of the story. So let's actually break that one down because I've seen this one a couple of times and I've seen a few essays written on it and I've kind of pieced together what I think is going on. The character of Trent, the main character, he was born the moment you saw him. He never existed. He was written by Kane.
Right.
So in that universe that he's living in and talking, that's page 1 of that universe. And as the story progresses, you're going through the chapters. So John Trent is kind of in the center of a gigantic crossover of all of the books that Sutter Kane has written. And he's kind of there to see the ultimate grand finale, which is the end of the universe. Right? He's there to see the end of times. And that's what the whole point of the story is. He is following along not because of his real motivations. His motivations are given to him by Trent, and are given to him by Kane. And Kane is a sadistic, manipulative type of writer. He makes you believe that there might be other things, but the reality is, he says it while he's talking to Trent. He goes up to him. He's like, "I'm God now. You understand? You are what I write." He's like, "God is not a hack writer." Oh, what if I told you that I like the color blue? And then everything is blue because Kane says it's blue. Kane knows what Trent is. So Kane rips the image of himself. Why does he have the ability to do that? He creates the idea that I'm holding them back. Why? Aren't they telling him what to write? They're not going to hurt him. Because he's their author. He's the author. He's Kang the Conqueror. And he would have been a better Kang the Conqueror than the guy they got for the MCU. Just going to throw that one in there. Jurgen Prochnow would have been a much better villain for the MCU than who they got. But that's essentially what he is. He's in control of the whole situation. He's like, oh, these are the voices I hear. I write what they tell me to write. And this one, the ending is going to be very good. Okay. But then how is he doing rewrites? What are the things they're saying? He's blocking our godly ways. No, he's not doing that. He understands that what he created was a rebellious character that is going to not allow for his reality to be ruined. He fights for what he thinks is his reality. And that's a subjective thing to fight for. What is reality other than what you interpret it to be?
Mm-hmm.
What sucks for Trent is what he's interpreting isn't what reality is. He's stuck in someone else's reality. He's stuck in Sutter Kane's reality. Sutter Kane can make monsters. Sutter Kane can make anything he wants. Trent is ultimately a meta character stuck in a book with a dude who knows that he's stuck in a book, and he's being bullied by this guy every step of the way.
Yeah, there.
The
Well,
author's bullying him every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's the end of the world.
Yeah, but I guess it would be better to say that. Okay, sure. Kane is the villain because although he's just a tool by the old ones, because he didn't create the old ones, like he was just a conduit for them in order to come back because people believed in Kane's writing. Therefore, if their belief in his writings was the fuel and key to the old ones returning and to reclaim the earth.
But if he were to turn around, the thing is, they don't reclaim the earth by the end. He claims it. The old ones can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, he's the one who's like, yeah, now they're going to turn into big monsters, and I get to just hang out getting to say what this does. What if he's one of those people who just absolutely hated the fact that there's people out there who hate horror, and he turned around and said, you know what? This book is dedicated to the critics that absolutely hate horror. And he writes a character who's like, isn't that author that writes that horror crap? Well, yeah, I am the author who writes that horror crap. And guess what? He throws him through the ringer.
You also take a stab at Stephen King too. It's like, oh yeah, this is bad. Like this guy. Oh yeah, Kane written more books. Yeah, I'm just like, okay, that's a little bit of a narcissistic dig, but I was like, it's between authors. That's just par for the course.
So, to my understanding, King in real life actually did enjoy In the Mouth of Madness. He thought it was a good movie. Like, I think I spoke with this guy's wife one time at Comic-Con.
Really?
Yeah, John Carpenter's wife. I think her name is Deborah Hill. Or Deborah King, something like that. She has a book series that I used to buy every year at Comic-Con. These short stories from comic books. These short comic book stories that she used to sell the autographed version there. I don't know if she's still there or not. It's like Halloween something. Halloween night or something. And I asked about what do you call it? In the Mouth of Madness. And when I asked them about it, she said something along the lines of Stephen King was a big fan when he saw it. And
cool.
A lot of the authors at the time were all big fans because there's small little nods to each of them in the whole film. So it kind of sucked for them when it came out in 95 and it didn't do very well. But it did do well as a cult movie as time went by.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's to my understanding the whole thing with In the Mouth of Madness. You're essentially reading, you're hanging out with a guy who's the antagonist of a book, who's the protagonist of a book, who's essentially being bullied around by the author. The author's like, I'm out to destroy your life. And we're treated to essentially another worldly horror.
Is it just me, or does the movie seem to really... I can't really think of any specific moments that demonstrate this. I do want to watch it again because I literally got on the call 10 minutes after I finished watching it. So I do want to do want to watch it again to see if I'm right.
It's
But
a bunch
there's
of
these
little
moments
things.
where there's these moments where it really feels like it's trying to tell you I am a movie and I know I'm a movie.
Yeah,
And in that way it's sort of foreshadowing the revelation that this whole thing is supposed to be in a novel.
yeah, and that's like it's kind of like what I'm trying to say. Like a lot of
Right.
this whole thing is, I am a book, and what's fun is the main character is kind of like, wait a minute, that shit sounds weird, doesn't it? Like he's
Yes,
essentially
yeah.
that. John Trent is that douchebag that calls out the plot holes and when you go watch a movie. That's who he is.
I mean,
He's that
eh,
guy. He's like, oh, that couldn't
It's like,
happen. That's
well,
bullshit. How does that happen? Right?
how could they have known that? That doesn't make it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's who he is, and that's why like after a
Yeah.
while, like he's trying to call out plot holes, but every time he does, like something is there to foil the plot hole, and it's like even he tells him the Kane tells him in the confession booth, even now you're trying to find the con. I wrote you that way, you know. Basically telling him like, dude, you are not real. You are stuck in a book. But I created you to fight reality, but you're stuck in a book. You're stuck in my book, and in this book I'm God. No, you're not. Yeah, I am. What if I wanted to make everything blue? What if watch, you're going to keep fighting me? Watch. I'll just have things happen to you and you won't have an explanation for them. People will think you're crazy. Which, yeah, what is it? No, I think I'll stay in the nut house now. Well, that guy thought you'd want to leave. Yeah, no, I'm good here. I'm gonna stay put.
He's in the nut
Right.
house now.
and
He's
they
in the
force him
nut
out.
house now.
They
Yeah,
force him out, and he goes to a movie theater.
And he was
to
like
put the
happy as
film.
shit to be in the nut house though. He was like, yeah, I'll stay here.
Yep.
He only left because the door got pried open because they were murdering people outside, but he was safe in the nut house. And chances are, after that movie's over, he's gonna go back.
If he can make it back.
He probably
But,
will,
yeah.
because I'm pretty sure the author wants him to live in that hellscape for the rest of his days.
That's just sadistic.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Though. Like, Sutter Kane is a sadistic piece of shit. There is nothing good about Sutter Kane, but I love him as a villain. He's a very fascinating villain. He makes you think that he makes you think he's not, but he really is. He's the lead villain in that whole movie.
I just still want to admit the fact that all it took was to attain godhood is to go to New Hampshire and get lost, and just write your book like
takes
Alan Wake
less-
style.
It takes way less than that. If you want to achieve, according what the film is trying to say is, if you want to achieve godhood, all you need to do is put paper to the pen. Pen to the paper. That's it. And
Well,
then
in
you're
modern
your own
times,
Kang.
put fingers to keyboard.
And you're your own Kang the Conqueror, minus all the things Jonathan Majors got arrested for. You're your own guy. You get to do anything you want, as long as you don't do what Jonathan Majors did.
I mean, even if you did what he did, you could still, if you put enough pen to paper and do it right, you can still act like a god. Because and people that done even worse than what he did and are still walking around.
Yeah, but as long as you don't do what he did, which was ruin an entire series for me by being boring in the final 10 minutes of it, and everybody telling me he's a good actor, and it was boring as shit. That Loki season finale was boring. Did I tell you guys I thought the Loki season finale was boring in season 1?
I haven't seen that yet. Thank you for poisoning. That's the idea.
It was fucking boring.
I am in the camp of folks that say, if you want me to watch the Marvel stuff, don't give me homework. Like I don't want to have to watch 5 TV shows and 38 movies to see the new Marvel movie and have it make sense.
But you have to, Red. You do.
I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
And on that note, we're definitely way past coming up on the hour.
You have to do it for the greater good. Morally Gray's not here to say greater good.
That's the way to get me. The greater
The
good.
greater good. So on that note, we today we ran across cosmic horror. I sound like a nutcase. I have no regrets. The men in white coats
I mean,
are
I'm
most
the
likely
Bigfoot
coming.
guy, so I can't talk.
You're the what?
The Bigfoot guy.
Hey,
This is true.
you
This
said
is
you
true.
wanted Bigfoot to be a thing, not that Bigfoot is a thing. There's a difference. Whereas I'm out here saying there is some little Japanese lady out there that should have been taken back to the more populated areas because of what happened. You know, the disasters and all that good stuff. Oh, not good stuff. Bad stuff. My bad. Not to make light of that situation, but while I was over there, I donated money and I gave them a free hoodie. So, yeah.
Good.
Everything's right with the world.
Everything's right with the world. Some kid has something warm around his shoulders today because I decided to leave that over there.
What a mensch.
Yep,
That phrasing.
I'm a world-class hero. Regular Robin Hood. But no, like, in all seriousness, I do sound like a nut. Once again, Bolt sounds as the voice of reason around here, and Red is, I'm assuming, on Bolt's side that no, cosmic horror is not a thing. You're a psycho. Yes.
Psycho is a harsh term.
Well, what? Look, I'll just put it like this. Just give me a black crayon. That's all.
All right, that's what you're getting for your birthday. A black crayon.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Right. All right. Yeah. Cool. A black crayon. Where the heck is the one I'm looking for? Where's our closeout music? I haven't used it in about a month. Found it. All right. And this episode will be up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I've recommended to certain people that say they want to support us. How can they do it? Go over there and just watch the episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. Any other closeouts from the other two?
I hope they caught what you said because it got muffled heavily.
What?
Watch the VOD later. You'll see
Exactly.
what I mean.
Yeah.
All right, watch the VOD later. All right. And that's another episode in the books.